Are you a member of Airsoft Tech and Q&A? I know I am, and one thing that I constantly see from mods, admins, and such is read the files. And now I know barely anyone does that, so I went through the files and I found a few that I thought were really interesting and ones that would go well with a video. So I'm going to try and spread awareness about the information that they have there with a mini-series going through the files section and reading through some of them with screenshots of the texts up there so more people who don't want to read can still find the information useful. So without further ado, my name is Al and we're going to be going into the file Understanding Marketing Terms. This was written by Alan Sun, Wednesday, July 18th, 2018, but even though it's almost 2 years old at this point, it still has a lot of great information that I think would benefit everyone that reads it. This is a simple guide for people to understand marketing terms and to enable people to dig deeper about products before purchasing to avoid acquiring inferior or problematic products. This guide will be continuously edited as I add new items. There are plenty of marketing terms that are being thrown around to make products more attractive to the uneducated public. Of course, these terms used are often true, however, the use of these marketing terms makes people miss important information. Fullmetal. Fullmetal is the term applied to state that an airsoft gun uses the same general type of material as the real firearm. General type is referring to metal or plastic. It is not referring to specific material such as billet 7075 T6 aluminum alloy. Most manufacturers will use cheap metal and cheap plastic to slap the term full metal on their products. These cheap materials won't give you strength nor durability that most people would think a full metal gun should have. For example, most airsoft metal receivers and metal slides are made with pot metal. CNC. There are plenty of CNC products for airsoft. Everything from gears, motors, pistons, piston heads, bushings, cylinder heads, and the list goes on forever. However, how often do you actually research what material the product is made out of? CNC is merely a term for a machining process involving a CNC machine. It simply means in the making process of said product, a CNC was used in a single stage or multiple stages. It has absolutely nothing to do with what kind of material the product is made out of. Remember those cheap Chinese-made CNC gearbox shells that people went crazy on years ago, then cried weeks later because they were cracking? Yup, CNC'd alright, out of cheap Chinese pot metal. Remember, make sure you look up what material the product is CNC'd from. Aircraft-grade aluminum. What the frick is aircraft-grade aluminum? Oh, right, easy. It simply means aluminum that was involved in building of an aircraft. Here's the problem. It's not aluminum, but aluminum alloy, and a single aircraft involves plenty of different types of aluminum alloy. 2000, 4000, 6000, and 7000 series aluminum alloys are all commonly used in aircraft. The difference in compositions provide different weight and strength. Strength also includes flexibility. Don't forget the T rating after, which means the type of heat treating done to the aluminum alloy to increase its strength. There are more than these problems though. Aluminum alloy can vary from country to country. For example, Chinese-made 7075 can be weaker than American-made 7075. Heat treating isn't always done properly either. Sometimes to save cost, manufacturers will squeeze in as many items in the oven as possible. However, they do not compensate for the increased volume of or overlaying of components. This will weaken the end result of heat treating. Just because it's aircraft-grade aluminum doesn't mean it's good. Neodymium magnets. Neodymium magnet is a type of magnet and generally speaking pretty strong. Not all neodymium magnets are the same. There are multiple ratings for both the strength of the magnets as well as the operating temperature. These ratings are important especially when the motors get hot. Some companies will use the weakest or cheapest neodymium magnets just to slap the term on the product. Stronger doesn't mean better either. Stronger magnets have obviously stronger magnetic field force. This means you will need more current to start the spin of the armature. This is the reason why N52 motors are not practical. Yes, I've been there for science. Lols. Precision inner barrel. Precision. What kind of precision are we talking about? Most inner barrels are made from machines that are relatively precise. Therefore, most inner barrels can be marketed as precision inner barrels. But what kind of precision do you actually need or want? Most machines cannot produce a barrel with the kind of precision that's in your mind. You're cutting metal, things vibrate. This is where lapping comes in, but to get a nice and even lapping is time-consuming and expensive. Another problem is that you are assuming whatever material that the barrel is made out of has perfect density. Imagine a sponge. Yup, that's what most precision inner barrels look like under a microscope. The material itself comes in play. Cold hammer forge is always nice, but expensive. Don't overstress on barrel quality until you're ready to nitpick everything. Lipo ready / pre-upgraded. How many times have you seen this term in the last 10 years? They aren't lying. You can run a 7.4 volt, 11.1 volt, and sometimes 14.8 volt batteries in most factory AEGs. They are LiPo ready. Is the AOE correct? Is there a MOSFET? Is it wired to not Tamiya? Is there a fuse? There's no true definition of LiPo ready, but merely how you perceive it. Usually, we would like to assume it means that it has a MOSFET with a proper fuse, corrected AOE, and wired to DINs or XT60s. Or at least I'd like to. Tactical / competition. What makes a gun to be a tactical one? What makes a gun to be one for competition? It's the same term as assault rifle. It's purely how you use it. There are plenty of active LE/MIL units who use handguns with red dots and compensators. There are also lots of people who use handguns with similar if not identical setups for competition. I've used plenty of firearms that would be deemed tactical in competitions. The term tactical and competition do not describe or limit the use of a gun. High torque / speed motor. When choosing a motor, you shouldn't look for the high torque or high speed label on the box. Instead, you should look at the RPM or TPA of the motor. The RPM/TPA gives you a much more precise expected performance than just the use of the term torque or speed. Sistema Magnum is advertised as a high torque motor, but is actually only 16 TPA. What does that say when we have motors all the way from 10 TPA to 32 TPA? 16 TPA isn't even in the middle. MOSFET. MOSFET is simply a gate or valve controlling the current or circuit. The primary usage of MOSFET in Airsoft is to bypass the main circuit away from the trigger contacts to avoid the trigger contacts from burning out due to long-term usage and/or strong batteries. Plug-in MOSFET simply does not exist. You have to rewire the circuit to be able to use a MOSFET properly. Only the gate voltage should be going across the trigger contacts, which is a very small amount. It takes pretty much no current to switch on the MOSFET to allow the current to flow through the MOSFET to supply power to the motor. The most commonly used MOSFET is the IRLB3034. It is relatively small in size, cheap to acquire, and extremely durable when the MOSFET unit is built properly. Last but not least, ECU. Electric Control Unit is a computerized control unit that usually includes a MOSFET. Though the primary function of the ECU is usually as a MOSFET, most come with other features such as cycle completion, burst, semi-locking, lipo protection, etc., etc. Same as MOSFET, the circuit needs to be wired specifically if used with traditional trigger contacts for most ECU. There are other lesser devices that can provide plug-and-play time or amperage spike-based burst features. These lesser devices require you to hold the trigger until the burst is completed. Releasing the trigger early will stop the burst entirely. Keep it in mind that a microswitch is not the same as an ECU nor MOSFET. A microswitch is simply a type of on-off switch that physically closes and opens the circuit just like a traditional trigger contact. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that reading, and if you liked this reading, make sure to leave a like and tell me about it. I'd love to hear your feedback. Without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.